Yours.
Thank you, Anna, for having me again. I'm really pleased to be here. So I will share my screen and start the presentation. Um, Share here. Try to share the right one. Screen 2, this one. Share. Okay. Fine. So there. Just before I start, the artwork in back of me is from Lorraine Saytog. She's an artist from Manitoulin Island and a friend of mine as well. So today I would like to talk about general liability, content insurance, insurance for art objects, public art insurance. We had a question about that, and media liability. Um, if you want, instead of having questions at the end, we can stop after each section, and then see how it goes. But I think most of your questions will be answered through the presentation. If not, don't hesitate. And if you don't want to ask during the presentation, you can always email me at the address that appears at the bottom of the screen. I'd be pleased to answer any questions you have later on. So, general liability, I don't know how much you are familiar with that, but everybody needs general liability insurance. Either you have a home, a car, or a business, and if you're self-employed as well. It can be, so what is general liability? It is the cost to defend you. And if you're found guilty of negligence, the amount the court says you must pay for property damage or bodily injury that you caused to someone else, to a third party. So to someone else, and that's the important part of it, is that a third party is someone that is not insured on your insurance policy. So who is insured? Well, yourself would be insured, but you're also your employees, volunteers, and temporary workers. So that's important as a definition. There are many limits available, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, and the premium is based on the limit that you choose and your activities. So it might be more expensive for a sculpture that uses metal or a fine woodworker, a sculpture that uses wood, for example, or a jeweler, because the risk is higher. And then there's deductibles, different deductibles available, 1,000 to 5,000. It could be more than that, but we don't see it very often. Um, so this is the question that comes up all the time. What about why should we have a commercial insurance versus home insurance? So first, the home insurance is you can be covered for your professional activities while working from home. It is an endorsement that is available. Most insurance companies will agree to provide that endorsement to cover your professional activities from home. Some dislike very much artists, so that happens as well. So as soon as you tell them that you are an artist, they won't want to insure your home anymore unless you have a commercial policy. But it all depends on the insurance company. For sure, most home insurers will not want to insure woodworkers, metalsmiths, or sculptors. And what is important to know is that the coverage is limited to the premises. So whatever you do outside from home, so let's say you have an exhibition, attend a fair, that those activities would not be covered. And if you are at a fair and the organizer wants to be named as an additional insured, so to have proof of insurance and be named on the insurance policy, your home insurer will not do that. It's super important to inform your insurance broker that you are an artist working from home, if that's the case, and I will give you an example of why. I really like this example because it touches on both insurance policies. So you are an artist, you work from home, and you have a friend over. and for cocktails. So fine, you have a nice glass of wine and you're very excited and say, I want to show you my last piece of work. So your studio is downstairs in the cellar. So you go down and your friend is very excited about the artwork and wants to buy it. And you agree to it, you agree to your price, you wrap it, and he goes up the stairs again with the artwork in his hands. And there's a rip in the carpet, and he falls down the stairs and breaks a leg. And unfortunately, his work, he's also a self-employed, and his work is needs for him to be standing up most of the time, so he cannot keep working. So he will sue you. Well, not that he wants to, but his lawyer will say that he needs to sue you and to get the loss of income, and that because he cannot work anymore for a few months. And that's fine. So you get the letter from the lawyer, and you present this to your insurance company, your home insurance company. And the home insurer says, well, you never said that you had this professional activity at your home, so you're not covered for it. So I'm not defending you. So I'm not paying the legal cost to defend you. So that's the worst scenario. So, and that's why I say it's so important just to tell your broker or your direct insurer that you are an artist working from home, and and as long as you have some written confirmation that they agree to that, that would be fine. If not, if they don't, then you should get a commercial insurance policy only for the general liability, no need for much more. I believe this is the most important coverage that you need. If you were to have a commercial insurance policy, then it would cover you wherever you are. So at your studio, home studio, or elsewhere, at fairs, when you're seeing clients, if you have an exhibition, wherever. And and we can add also the fair organizer or the owner of the building where you rent your studio as an additional insurance, which is very common practice. And it covers your employees, volunteers, and temporary workers again. I'd like to give an example here of what can happen at a fair. So let's say you install the artwork, and unfortunately something happens, and at one point it falls on the head of a child. The child has a concussion, and the parents are very worried, and they will sue you, and they will sue the venue. They will sue anyone around, actually, that could be held responsible for it. And because it is you who installed the artwork, it would be your insurance policy that would cover you, defend you, and pay whatever legal expense. And if you're found guilty of negligence and the court says that there's an indemnity to pay to this child, the insurance policy will cover that up to the limit of the policy. So what we saw previously, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, minus the deductible, of course. If some of you share the studio with others, your studio with others, then it is important to that the people that sign the lease are named on the insurance policy, and that if you sub-rent, then that the sub-renters should have their own insurance policy. And it's also super important that you declare the activities of each person using the space. It's very different the risk is very different from an artist, a visual artist, versus an artisan, and let's say a jeweler. They're all different, and the insurance companies don't see it the same way. So it's important to just declare. And the other recommendation I would make is that before signing the lease, that you ask your insurance broker to verify the insurance requirements. There's always some strange request. So they might ask you to cover flood, earthquake, and business interruption, and all these coverages, which really increase that really increase the cost of insurance. So it's good to just have it verified by your insurance broker who can tell you, maybe you can negotiate this to remove these requirements from the lease, and then maybe it's possible, maybe not, but at least you would know how much it would cost you beforehand and not after, once you've signed the lease and you have this surprise that, ooh, it's $200 more per month than you thought it would be. So that's my recommendation. The territory. So most insurance policy cover in Canada, USA. But if you have activities outside the country, it is possible to have a general liability that covers you outside worldwide, actually. It would be just worldwide. So that ends my presentation regarding general liability. So while it's all fresh in your mind, maybe you have some questions. Let me stop my sharing.
I see Lee has her hand up.
That's interesting. I was just wondering what would be an example of an activity outside of the country. Like you personally are traveling, or give me some examples of what that might look like.
A residency outside the country. Some will ask that you carry general liability insurance, and if you're and provide proof of it. So if the territory is limited to Canada and USA, it might not be admitted by the how do you call it, the place where you will have your residency. Sorry.
The host.
The host, thank you, the host. That would be an example. Again, if you were to have an exhibition outside the country, outside Canada and USA, you are installing the artwork, and then something happens, even if it's a museum, you could be held responsible if someone is hurt, or if the place is damaged, there's physical damage to something that does not belong to you.
And if you ship your work outside of the country, that's a different circumstance than what you're
Yes.
describing?
Yes, that would be covered under, you would want to cover the fine art, but then your liability is not involved there. There's no, or limited, I should say. Yes.
Yeah, Michelle is asking, what do you do if you don't have a signed lease? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Michelle. Do you want to explain what you mean?
Well, I was renting a studio for 4 or 5
okay.
years away from home, and I never had a signed lease. It was just kind of a general agreement that this was the rent, and we paid the rent. And so I'm just wondering, if you don't have a signed lease, how would you know what the demands of the owner of the building are?
Exactly. It's always on, it would be on the lease. It would say that you are required to have insurance or not. Sometimes it doesn't, there's no requirement. Sometimes it's just a lease. This is how much you pay. This is the rent you must pay, and that's it. There's no other requirements. So it all depends on the owner of the building and what they want. So, but a commercial lease, most often it will be there are quite a few requirements regarding insurance, and the owner being named as an additional insured. Maybe that's, I keep coming back with this, the notion of additional insured. So why would someone want to be named as an additional insured? Is that if as I said previously, if you're exhibiting at a fair, you're installing, something happens and someone is hurt, the venue will be sued and you will be sued. If the venue is named as an additional insured, it is your insurance policy, if you're negligent, if you were the one that was installing, that would defend you, but that would also defend the venue. So it would cover, So that's why they want to be named as an additional insured. The same thing for building owners, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Who's that?
I have a couple of questions. I found it curious that there were disciplines that were not favored to be insured, like sculptures. And I do a number of things, including sculpture. So why is that? And
Well, there are more claims related to fire, for example, when you work with wood and metal. So that's just it. There are more claims, more fires, more whatever. And that's why the insurance company, they will, for us, it's fine. You know, we know what insurance companies will accept those risks, but for others, they keep it's like a bit like insuring a restaurant. You're sure it's going to burn down at one point, so it's just the question of when. So that's yeah, I know. So that's how they think, you know. It's
Okay.
so our
Right.
job as an insurance broker is to really understand what you do. So we do ask a lot of questions, I admit, but once we understand and we're comfortable with what we call the risks, so your activities and how you behave as an artist, then it is easier for us to convince the insurance company that it is worth having you as a client, and that there is always a chance of claim, but there's no certainty that there will be a claim, and that's what they are looking for. That there is a chance, but not a certainty. So find woodworkers that would not that would be let's say that would have a shop with that would not be clean. It would be not well maintained. We ask for pictures, and if the artist sends us pictures of his studio, wood shop, and everything is dirty, and for us it's like, okay, this is a really bad risk. This means that there's a chance that there will be a fire, just instant combustion. So we can't present this to the insurer. We can't be comfortable. And so doing business with an insurance broker that knows the business is good, because we will tell the artist or the artisan, you know, we can't present this, but these are our recommendations. And then once it's done, we would be happy to present it to the insurance company. So it's a discussion that we have. But this is special. This is for ASSURART. That's what we do. That's our competitive advantage, I would say.
okay, and you do sell policies in Nova Scotia?
Yes.
Okay. And just one more, what if you don't sell from home? And so you don't have people coming in and taking your work or looking at your work?
So it's
All
that's great.
matter.
Yeah, it's fine, but just tell your insurance company. They will ask, depending on your activities, they might ask, where do you keep, what kind of paint you use? Where do you keep them? Do you have any varnish? Combustible things, are they kept in a metal container? And maybe they'll be fine with you working from home. And as I said, they'll add this self-employed, this endorsement to cover you as a self-employed.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll share my screen again. You might want to ensure your tools, your materials, your computer, camera, furniture, all that, the content related to your activities, and that this would be covered under content. So most insurance policies today are said to be all risks. So they would cover just about anything except what is excluded. So fire, theft, that would be covered, but what would not be covered would be sewage backup, earthquake, flood, rodents, vermin, insects, temperature change, war, and terrorism. Those are the common exclusions. But you can always buy sewage backup coverage, earthquake and flood. That might be available. Flood will not be available if it's a high risk, if there's a high risk of flood in your region. So if you rent a space outside of your home, then leasehold improvements would be covered under content insurance. It's important to know because we tend to forget it, so to forget that part. But if you were to change the floors, add walls, and whatever, most probably the lease will ask that your leasehold improvements be covered as well. So you need to know what the value of those are. Sewer backup is often misunderstood because it's not only the sewer from, let's say, in the cellar that backs up and damages that. It's also the pipe that is on the roof, and sometimes it gets clogged, it gets frozen, and the water cannot go through, and then the roof will fill up with water and go into the walls, and that's still considered sewage backup. Or again, a toilet that overflows is considered sewage backup. So even if you're on the third floor in a building, this might happen as well. So it is an important coverage. There are 3 bases of valuation. The replacement cost, so what it would cost today to replace the damaged object with the same object, an object of the same quality. So you have a wood table, and you want to replace it with a wood table, and maybe you bought it was $100, but maybe today the same table of the same quality would cost $1,000. Well, that would be the replacement cost versus the actual cash value. So you bought this table at $100, and it is expected to have a life expectancy of, let's say, 50 years, and you had it for 25 years, then it's half. It would be worth $50. And then it's not worth claiming, you'll say, but still, it's just an example. And then the agreed value is, it could be for an antique, for example, that you have it appraised and it is said to be worth, on the market value is $3,000. You would insure it for that amount, for $3,000. You can see that with jewelry as well on your home insurance policy. Sometimes you have a sublimit. You might have a sublimit for jewelry, and then if you want to list your jewelries, you would have them appraised, and they would be insured for the amount that is written on the policy. Again, there's a deductible, most often 500, 1,000. It could be higher, but those are the most common. And then there's a clause in commercial insurance that is called a co-insurance. So it just says that you have to insure for at least 80, 85, or 90% of the replacement cost of your content. Or else you would be penalized in case of a claim. You wouldn't receive the full amount of the indemnity. Portable equipment is, let's say, the laptop, camera, whatever goes outside from your home or from your studio, that is professional equipment, and it might not be covered under content. So you need to ask your insurance broker if it's covered, where is it covered, and are there any exclusions. The most common exclusion is when you leave the camera or the laptop in your car, and if it is unlocked and stolen, it won't be covered. Most often it needs to be there needs to be a mark of forced entry, and the police report and etc. Is art insured under content? So to our knowledge, no. And if so, it would only cover the canvas, the paint, and the frame. So this you would need to ask your insurance broker. If they say it's covered under the policy, under content, just ask them how they would indemnify you in case of a claim. So again, this ends our section about content. So if would you have any questions? Lee, yes?
So contents, very often in a studio, one has unsold work, which is art, because that's what we do. So that's the equivalent of our inventory. So you're saying that the value of the unsold art is basically the material value?
You have to check with your insurance company. It's in the wording, it's in the definition, and most often it will be excluded. Art will be excluded. So, but you need to ask your insurance broker. Is it inventory? How you would be indemnified? So the next section is about art objects and how we insure them. No, we as an insurance broker. Yeah.
So basically, if I understand you correctly, Colette, you're referring to our house insurance or home insurance, right?
I was referring to commercial insurance, sorry.
Or commercial insurance,
Yes.
okay.
Because,
Okay.
yes.
Because we know that
Because-
I think that we know that some home insurance companies will insure, your work up to a certain maximum, or I'm really not familiar with that,
Yeah.
obviously, but are you going to be touching on that later?
No, there's a small, so under this endorsement for, self-employed as an artist, there might be a small coverage, maybe 5,000, maybe 15,000. I don't know much, if it goes much higher than that, for the art that you've produced. But again, what will be the indemnity? I don't know. Yeah. I can find out. I'll ask one of my colleagues who's more versed in home insurance than I. Yes.
I think there was somebody else who had her hand raised. No? Oh, maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, so art object insurance. So there are a few insurance companies out there that insure art. It could be, so there's AXA XL, Berkeley, Great American, and for us, we've developed, and they would insure art, but larger art collections or large artists that produce a lot, or they're very well renowned. But what we've developed at ASSURART is an insurance program for members of CARFAC, have that really answers the needs of most artists, which are smaller operations. And we've negotiated with two insurance companies. One is Intact and the other one is Lloyd's. And for us, when we started ASSURART, we read quite a few insurance policies and found out that, as I said previously, it was not clear how artists would be indemnified. So we worked a lot on the basis of valuation, and for us, it is key. So if you are represented by an art gallery, our definition is that you would be indemnified according to the consignment agreement. So let's say your artwork is worth the selling price is 5,000. your consignment agreement with the art gallery is 50-50, then you would be indemnified 2,500 less the deductible. If you're not represented by an art gallery, we've negotiated that it would be the selling price less 20%. Unless it's sold at the time of loss. So in both cases, either you're represented by an art gallery or not, it would be the selling price less the deductible, of course. So again, worldwide coverage is available. So for people that ship art outside of Canada, USA, we can provide that coverage. And sometimes you want to insure some of your art and not all, and then you increase your production because you have this big exhibition. We can increase the limit for a short period of time so that you don't pay for the insurance for the full year. And some people don't want to have large coverage in transit, but it happens that they make this nice piece and want to ship it, and then we can just increase the limit of insurance for the transit for a short period of time.
Well, this is a very interesting discussion because I feel my work is worth nothing unless somebody buys it.
I like that. Actually, is it the second? Okay. It's okay. So I'll just share my screen and we'll come back. Well, I'll just say it actually. So yes. So so the onus of proof is always on the insured. You have to prove the value of your artwork. So how do you do that? You keep a record of all your sales that you've done forever, and so it's a history. So if something happens to an artwork, they will look at it and say, oh, Carol sold this art and it was an oil painting this size, and then she sold another bigger one that year, and then whatever. And now with time, it is worth more than it was. The value of the artwork that she did in the 1990s was less than what it is today, or maybe the opposite. And depending, the adjuster will find a way to calculate the selling price of the artwork. Now, if you don't make any sales, then it's not worth insuring the art objects because, again, it will be really difficult to indemnify. So the onus of proof is really on the insured. It's for you to prove the value of the artwork. So if you're represented by an art gallery, that is very easy. If not, it's really based on what you've done in the past and how much that's worth. Or if you have it appraised, some artists have an inventory. They've kept artworks from the beginning of their career and to document their work, and that's in storage. What is it worth now? So some have it appraised so that they could put a value to it.
I once got a piece of work appraised, and getting it appraised cost more because I wanted to make it a charitable donation. And I think the cost of the appraisal was more than the value of the donation.
Oh, yeah.
Because appraisal is very costly too, or it seems to be here to get an official appraiser.
Yes. Susan?
Good. I'm confused as to how do you work with Intact and Lloyd's, or so are you more of an intermediary?
Yes. So we are an insurance broker, but we've negotiated this program with one with Lloyd's and one with Intact. So with Intact, it covers Canada, USA, and with Lloyd's, it covers artists worldwide. So that's why we negotiated it, because we had all these requests and couldn't answer. So what we were granted the title of cover holder, which means that we play the role of the insurance company, but within some rules. So We know the rates, we know the underwriting rules, and if the artist does not fit in that box, then we need to submit it, get an approval from the insurance company. 80% or maybe more of the artists fit in the box, and we don't need to approve it. But as an example would be, we can insure up to $1 million of art without submitting it to the insurance company. But as soon as it's more than 1 million, we need to submit it. So that's with Lloyd's. With Intact, it's smaller limits, 250,000. So it's all about comfort for them. And so, but if we also do business with, as I said, Berkeley, AI, Great American, and AXA XL. So depending on the artist, their needs, we'll move around. Yeah.
So with these different categories, you could also insure your art for shipping, but nothing else.
Yes.
You can kind of decide on what you can afford and what areas you need.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Coverage in transit, that was the question. So it's really important to have a contract with the gallery or where the venue will be exposed, or where you are shipping it. Who is responsible for what? Are they responsible for the shipment, or you are responsible? It makes things a lot easier when there's a claim, and most claims are due to damage to artworks in transit. So that's what we get as claims. We need proper packing, choosing the right transit company, and it's not mandatory, but we really appreciate when there's a condition report that shows, it's just pictures that shows the artwork before it was packed, and then a photo of how it was packed, and then once it's done. And then, so if something happens in transit, we can prove the adjuster will say, well, who says that there wasn't a scratch on on that artwork? So when you have the condition report, then you could just show the pictures and what it looked like before it was in transit and how it arrived. Sometimes so interesting thing to say maybe is that sometimes it's a slight damage and it can be restored. The artwork can be restored. So the insurer, our insurers, will pay for the cost to restore and the loss in value if needed. So so that's why it's important to have the condition report, because if it's a scratch and you can't prove that it wasn't there before, they'll just say, well, who says? And it's easy. So we had this claim from a museum. So it was a shipment to a museum in Mexico City. And when it came back, it was all packed by the museum, so high quality. They had taken pictures. It was opened at the border. Some packages were opened at the border and not wrapped correctly afterwards, and they were total loss. So what's sad when it happens is that the cost to restore was more important than the value of the artwork. So then the insurance company just say, well, I'll give you the value of the artwork. Okay, but then you have to destroy the artwork, and that is really sad. So that's how it works. Okay, as I said, so that was the claim. In case of a claim, the onus of proof is on the insured. You need to have an inventory, history of sales, and the contract with the gallery. This is important because we see that some artists will just they trust the gallery. They just, yes, have this art, and then something happens to it. And if the gallery is not insured, well, who says that artwork was at the gallery? So it makes it more difficult. That's why we just say if it's well documented before, then it makes it easy when there's a claim. Okay. Do you have any questions on this section?
It's not a question, but it's a comment. I'm sure that most of the people online are thinking about this as well, is that many of the galleries that we exhibit at, whether commercial galleries who sell the work or community galleries like the smaller ones, we know that many of them do not have insurance. They're not, and many of them, mind you, do not have contracts, which is even worse. But many will simply put in their contract, the insurance is on the shoulders of the artist, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think Anna, you know that there's a standard contract that was made by HAV and AGAC, so it's the Association of Contemporary Art Galleries,
Yeah.
and where it says that a serious gallery should have insurance. It's not all members have insurance. We know that, but so, and but anyhow, if you have insurance for your art objects, they would be covered at the gallery, even if the gallery doesn't have insurance. So that's the good thing. And some artists will be represented by a few galleries, some with insurance that have insurance, others that don't. So you just, it's good to know who and what, and then you can decide how much insurance you want, with the limit of insurance you would like to be sure to be covered if something were to happen to that gallery.
Yeah.
Yes, Lee?
I have a question that's related to the information you've just given us, because I was thinking about whenever I ship work to exhibits, when you're in a group show, you're asked the question with the shipper, the valuation for insurance purposes. And if I'm listening to all the facts, if I don't have strong proof that it's of the value that I think it is, asking me that question really is kind of meaningless.
The question I would ask the transit company is what they would give you for, would they really cover that value? That's
Yeah.
the
The online world, you don't get to ask those questions of anybody anymore. You're filling out your own forms and finding your own codes and pulling out your own hair.
I had this discussion last evening with a transit company and about how people think the transit company has insurance in case of direct damage to an artwork, but that's not what they have. Most often they just have general liability insurance,
Right.
which means that it's only if it's only if you sue them because and you need to show that they were negligent in the way they carried your work. So, which is difficult to prove. But that's the coverage they have. And some large art transit companies, they just send us clients. They'll say, we have this artist that is shipping to Mexico, to France, whatever. It's $100,000 transit. How much would it cost to insure the artwork directly? And then we give the premium to the transit company. They just share that, and then we will insure the artist that is sending the artwork, not the transit company.
So then as a small shipper, not $100,000 shipper, that's for sure. As a small shipper, are you better to think about, I am insuring my work as it travels there so that my insurance would represent me if there was loss
Yeah.
in transit?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to put where the responsibility, so I'm better off to say, I'm not asking for them to insure it at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we find. It's yeah, from our experience. Mm.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
The next subject is public art. Is anyone interested? Okay, great. Oh, good. Okay. So we had a question about public art in the questions. So if you are awarded, before being awarded a public art project, it would, and you've been chosen as an artist to present a project. You don't know if you win the contest, but you are being asked. They will give you the budget. They will give you enough information, how much insurance you need. Then we suggest that you strongly call us, and we will give you a quote, tell you how much the insurance will cost. It's an estimate, and we tend to give a higher premium than what it would normally be. But then you could put that in your budget, and you won't be short when you, because if you do it after, sometimes you can have really bad surprises. So it's good to do it before. So what will it do? This insurance policy will cover the artwork while being designed, fabricated, shipped, and installed. It is a contractual requirement when you do public art. You have to insure the artwork for the full value of the artwork, and general liability. That all depends. It could be 1 million up to 5 million. And 2 weeks ago, we saw a request for 10 million general liability and 2 million professional liability or media liability. And luckily, this is an old client of mine, and he asked me what do I think about this requirement. I said, this is crazy. It's as if you were a, a contractor, like a construction company. They're asking something that is just about impossible to do. It will cost a fortune. Like 2 million professional liability is it's difficult to find, and it is expensive. And 10 million is the same. 10 million in general liability. So anyways, he went back to to the company that was asking for this, and negotiated it. So he got back. So he decreased to 5 million and 1 million, and we provided the cost. And let's hope that he wins the account, but we'll see. So part of the requirements also is that engineers and architects must have professional liability. You'll see that, and you will be asked to provide proof of that. Media liability. Some cities will ask for media liability. I'll get to it. Media liability. Oh, and before I go to the other, so some say all my subcontract. So you design the artwork, but you will not. Maybe you won't be fabricating it. So, but your subcontractors have insurance. Is it double insurance? Yes, it is. But because you're signing the contract, you are required to have the insurance, and you can't be sure that your subcontractor will still have insurance if something happens. So you need to have that insurance, even though so it's as if everybody has insurance, but you need to have it. Yes, Susan.
Is it insurance that the work will be done as specified? Is that what you're insuring?
No, it's just if something happens to the artwork, you've been paid. So you've received, oh, just stop my share. Stop share. So you've received, let's say, the first amount, maybe 10% or 15%, maybe 25 up to 25% to start the work. So you're purchasing the material to fabricate it, and even if you're having someone else fabricate it, that material is being bought. You're responsible. So if it's stolen, if there's a water damage, if there's a fire, you are responsible for that. So if you don't have the money to purchase all the materials again, what will happen? So public art insurance started not long ago, like about 20 years ago, and I believe it was there were what was happening is that the artist could not deliver when something happened. I remember there's a beautiful tapestry that was made, and the artist had completed it. It was part made with wool, and everything was hand dyed, and it was rolled, and it was supposed to go to a theater. It was delivered to the theater, and during the night there was this water damage, and that was it. And the artist didn't have any insurance. So after that, you have to negotiate, because the contract says that you must deliver the artwork. So she spent a year weaving it, dyeing it, whatever, and then you still have to deliver it. So what are you going to do? So I don't know the end of the story, but I believe they negotiated something.
But it was delivered.
It was delivered, but it was not yet installed. And you are responsible until it is installed and approved by the owner of the future owner of the artwork. And you are covered until that time, until there is an acceptance. So until the acceptance letter is signed and you get that final payment, you would be covered, and you're
So-
still responsible.
So you can write into the contract that when it enters their possession and not when it's installed. So
Yes.
you can amend things like.
Yeah. That's what they usually it's written that way. It is when it is fine until final acceptance, I think it says.
Okay,
Mm,
so you define what acceptance is.
y-
then for the-
Yeah, usually it's a letter that is signed that they approve, that they
Right.
agree with the artwork, and then you receive your last payment.
Okay.
So I
And
guess
then-
I guess it depends on the contract.
yes, it always depends on the
So
contract.
that's really, that's really
Yeah.
where it's at. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you need to be very careful with that.
Mhm, yes, it
Always,
has to be
always.
done.
First of all, to have a contract, and secondly, what the contract says. Yeah. I see that Robin wants to say something, and then Lee.
Am I unmuted? Okay, good. That's good to know, because I have something that I'm about to ship, actually. I need to double check that that's in the contract. The thing that you talked about before with your friend, something very similar happened to me with the municipality this year as well. And yeah, they were asking for it was more than $2 million liability insurance, which I didn't have. And and a few things, like you're right, like I felt like they were treating me like I was building a road in their municipality or something, instead of a public art installation. And I had to push back and actually to the point where I felt like I was going to have to let this go, even though they had accepted my proposal and everything. And it was their legal department. And it wasn't the administrator, the art facilitator. It was, the legal department of the municipality. So it's very weird. And but if you do push back, you can, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. You can get what you need, I think,
Mhm.
without having to buy all that extra insurance. So anyway, it's all my 2 cents.
Yes, Lee?
I'll just, I had the experience of being shortlisted, and it was a provincial government. So the provincial government's guidelines were quite proscribed. They were quite head scratcher. If you hadn't really thought about hiring professionals to do installation in another city, um, and what coverage you might need, you know that all the people who are shortlisted are being asked to have that proof that they can be insured to get it done to the very end. So that's not the point where you really feel that you can negotiate. So I just wanted to say that out loud. You're still in the selection process, so you don't really want to be a huge squeaky wheel if if you're part of the short list. You can ask questions, but pushing back doesn't feel quite like what you can do.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's so in Quebec, there's really standard contracts. So there's very few differences from one contract to another. In Ontario, it's all over the place. It all depends on the province, and then you can have also private commission, and the private commission will work. The contracts are most often very similar. So whatever, we do business with an artist that sells his artworks to large hotels across the world, and every time he has the contract reviewed by his lawyers to make sure that it makes sense, and then he will send it to me and say, can you insure this? Will you be able to do it? And we had, at one point, he had something in Israel, and it's considered, for our insurance companies, it was considered a war zone. So
Right.
it was no, we can't.
Right.
So he couldn't accept the contract. So that's why I'm saying it's always good to send it before, not after, because after that you've done your budget, and you might be missing $10,000 right there. So it's really worth it. And the other thing, if you do public art projects, how long will it last? Because we issue a policy, it's an annual policy. So if the project is over 3 years, then it might cost you 3 times that amount.
Right.
Or if we have a schedule, we can
Right.
modulate it so that you have some insurance at the beginning that answers the requirements. And then once you purchase the materials, we can increase the limit, et cetera, to reflect it. And so we've learned from this with the pandemic, because before that, most projects would finish in less than a year or a year. And maybe they would be extended for a month, that's fine, but not, 2 years, 3 years. And then a lot of artists were stuck paying for close to 3 years of insurance, and that took a toll on their budget, plus the cost of materials had increased. So we thought, let's see how we can do it. So now we ask, what is the schedule of production? And if it's over a year, let's see what we can do. Some of our artists are insured only for general liability. On their annual policy, we add the future owner of the artwork on the policy. So there's no extra cost for maybe 6 months, a year, and then we'll issue the public art policy that has a proper wording. So just to say.
Robin, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say to Lee, like when you were speaking about public, sending things to other places, one of the things that they did want me to do was to take responsibility for, I mean, I didn't want to be on site for the installation because it's a strange city and I'm visually impaired and I wasn't comfortable doing that. And they agreed to have other people install for me, which is great. But then they wanted me to have insurance and be responsible for if something happened while it was being installed. And I said, well, how could I do that if I'm not there to see, like what if somebody gets shocked by a plug and I'm not there to see that they've done that properly? Like, that's not fair. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, pushing back. Sometimes it's just really, some of the things that they expect in these contracts are just not realistic. So that's all I meant about pushing back.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I think that, because speaking of contracts, I'm really a contract maniac. That's I talk about contracts a lot when I do my presentations on copyright and best practices and all of that. But the thing is, not only do we as artists need to have contracts to make sure that everybody knows who has what responsibility, but we also need to make sure that what is in the contract really serves us well. And I know, as you said, Robin, that sometimes pushing back is kind of, a little challenging, but I think that we need to, we need to do that anyway, so as to protect ourselves.
Yep.
There's one last topic, it's media liability. Um, so media liability just covers exactly that. So copyright infringement, libel, defamation, plagiarism. It covers you in defense, not in offense, meaning that if another artist says that you copied their work, you would be covered. But if you want to sue someone because they copied your work, that would not be covered by this insurance. So I talk about it because it happens that for some public art, they will they will ask for media liability. It's more and more common. So,
Go ahead, Lee.
Your screen went by really quickly. Could you just say the things on the screen again, please?
oh, yes. So it covers libel, defamation, copyright infringement, plagiarism. So if another artist sues you saying that you copied his artwork or her artwork, this insurance policy will defend you. And I talked about it because it is sometimes requested for a public art project.
Thank you.
And more when it's a private commission art. So big banks will ask, the banks will ask, or the big construction companies might ask for that. So just as an example, one project with maybe $1 million coverage is about $1,000 worth of premium, is a premium of about 1,000. Yeah, depending of course on the project, but it gives you an idea. Maybe I have just a few minutes. I wanted to touch on something. It's that when we talk about commercial insurance, we ask a lot of questions. We ask questions about your revenues, what you do, how you do it. There are a lot of questions. And I understand that people find it as if it was an attack on their privacy. And I do get it. But for us, asking the revenues is understanding that it's really understanding the risk. The more revenues you make, the larger the risk is for the insurance company. The larger, there are more chances that there will be a claim versus a smaller artist that makes, I don't know, a few $20,000, $40,000 per year versus 200,000. So that's why we ask about the revenues, and then about the practice. So when we say, do you give classes? Do you give classes from home? Yes. Oh, do you give classes to children? Yes. So that just rings a bell. It's like, oh, okay, you know how many people are sued because they say that their children were harassed sexually, mentally, whatever. So we need to ask those questions. Is there another adult in the room? Are the parents there? So those are the questions we will be asking. And I totally understand that it seems as if we were intruding or and that maybe for you it doesn't make sense, but every single question that we ask is for a purpose. So if we ask, to a woodworker, do you sweep the floor every day, twice a day, and do you put the wood chips in a metal container? There's a reason for that. It's not because we want to ask questions for fun. It takes a lot of time for us to get to know an artist and to really understand what they do. And I'd like to give this example about an art gallery. If you don't have a conversation with someone, you only get the answers to those questions. But an art gallery, so is this the only thing that you do, being an art gallery? No, I have a tattoo parlor in the back. Well, you know what? it's not the same. A tattoo parlor, what can happen? Someone can have a skin infection, can die from it. Yeah, it's not as if you were selling an art piece in an art gallery. It's so different. So so bear with me, if you are going to ask for a quote. I just wanted to say that there's a lot of questions, and we are here to answer and to have conversations with you. So we do prefer to have people fill out forms, because then we have a general idea of what other questions we can ask, versus having someone on the phone during half an hour asking, so what is the size of your studio, and how many floors, and da da da. And so it's a waste of time for most often you and us. So we prefer to ask the questions on a form, and then have a true conversation with the information we have. But that's a way of doing things. If you prefer just to call, just call. I'd be happy. And if you have more questions and don't want to ask them here, again, just give me a call and I'll be happy, or write me an email. I'll be at Art Toronto next week, so a bit difficult to reach me, but I'd be happy to answer.
Do we have your contact information?
Anna?
Well, I mean, you have your website. That's basically where your information is. It's on your website, right?
Yeah, and I'll just
I
say.
can, well, okay, go ahead. Or I can just send it to, I can send the link. Basically, it's ASSURART Inc.
Yeah.
And there it is.
I just
Yeah.
put it in the chat.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Any more questions or comments?
Is there a kind of general policy cost? Could you give us a rough idea of?
There's a minimum premium of 500 for sure. And then if you only want general liability, let me check. Wait, we just changed the rates, so I don't know them by heart. I'll check right away. So. Opening.
So you mentioned that 500 would be like a minimum.
Yep. And then for just general liability, $2 million limit for Carfax members would be $478, plus our fees, and 50. So yeah. So that would be the basic insurance, general liability. And then if we were to add art and content and whatever, it all depends on the coverages that you want, how much coverage is needed for the content, and then for the art objects. But I'd be happy if you want just quick estimate. You just give me a few the limits that you think, and I can provide a quick quote, and you can do the paperwork after.
Okay. Lee, I think, and Robin.
I don't want to consume all the time. I'm often involved in group exhibitions as an organizer, so I may end up with the group's art in my possession. And what kind of, and sometimes I'm holding it between exhibit locations because it's a traveling group show. What is that? And what am I insuring? And can I insure the artwork if it really is just going to come down to the cost of materials?
Because there's no value on the artwork? Is that why you're saying?
Well, they have, some of the artists might have have an extensive sales history, but some might not have much or any.
Do you have an agreement with the artist, saying with a list of the artworks and the value of the artwork, the selling price?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we would insure it as if you were an art gallery.
Okay.
so an organizer of exhibition and maybe a curator, and then it would be according to the agreement that you have with the artist and the list. So if the agreement is 70, a split of 70-30 if there's a sale, 70 to them, 30 to you, whatever, you know, we would cover for that amount. So
So all I am is a person who's making sure it gets to the next place on behalf of our group. You've put together an exhibit and you're shipping it around so that your work gets shown and has an opportunity possible to sell also, but mostly that it gets shown.
So you can always be sued. Let's say that you stored the artwork in your basement,
Yep.
and there was a history of water damage, and it was damaged by water, or you put it in your cellar or basement, and then there's no lock. You forget to lock the door, and everything is stolen. So it was under your care, your custody.
Yes.
So you were responsible for it. So they could sue you under general liability,
Under
saying
general.
you were
Okay.
negligent.
Yeah.
But there's an exclusion for care, custody, and control. So, so that's why we would rather that the artwork were insured for direct damage. So if they're stolen, if there's damage to the artwork, we would strongly recommend that you have, I don't know, coverage for 25,000, 50,000, whatever the exhibit, whatever you have. It would be covered in transit. It would be covered at your place. It would be covered at the exhibit during the exhibition.
Okay.
A lot less stress.
Yeah. Because a lot of galleries will insure while it's in their possession, but
Yeah.
go, you know, like they're not responsible while it's in transit.
True.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Robin, did you have another question or comment?
No, I was just going to say this was very informative and thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. If you think of anything else, just give me
Well,
a.
actually, I was speaking with one of your agents today, just happened to line up at the same time. And she's giving me a quote by Friday or Monday. So yeah, no, it's good.
Oh, was it
Yeah.
Stella?
It absolutely was. She's awesome.
Her office is beside me. I can hear her.
Yes, it was
Okay.
Stella.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So I think you had a lot of fun. Or
Oh,
was it just an
definitely.
impression?
Yeah, definitely. She's actually, I had filled in an application, but I had left a lot of stuff out because I've moved my studio into my home. And so we did go through all those questions about, the square footage and this and that and everything else. And so she had to do that for me, but she actually, she said she expected the invitation down to her house. So she was fun. Anyway, she's great. Thank you.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you for your comments. Very much appreciated, and I'll share with Stella.
Oh, thanks. That's good.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions, or? We got all the answers we were looking for, and if not, there's always Colette's invitation to email her, further comments or questions. So that's a very good suggestion. So Jerry?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Colette, for all of your expertise. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Anna, for organizing the session. And I'll leave it at that because it is evening and I'm sure you want to finish up your nights.
Well, thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody, and see you at our next webinar. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, nice to see you always. Bye-bye.